Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for part 3 of this mini series, all centered around the 3 roundtable tracks for the upcoming Data and Analytics Insights Summit. I once again joined by one of our keynote speakers, Bill Franks, Chief Analytics Officer of the IAA. And Bill will this time be giving his thoughts on advancing, trusting, and scaling AI and all the challenges that come with that. How are you doing today, Bill?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me.
Just to sort of give some context about why we've included this challenge as one of our roundtable tracks. So achieving, great ROI is one of the main challenges preventing data analytics leaders from harnessing the power of AI right now. And there are a range of people, process, and technology barriers that, are combining to keep analytics professionals up at night. In your eyes, what are the key AI challenges that leaders should be focusing on right now, and why?
So I have a little bit of a contrarian view here. I'm going to say I think leaders are focusing too much on AI challenges when they really need to be focusing on business challenges. And so there's too much focus on the method of AI and not enough focus on here's a problem that needs solved. Now, there are many cases where those problems might be addressed by AI, and that's terrific. But also, I think there's many cases where there might be other approaches that make sense. So I think I like to encourage a slight broadening of it's not just about AI, it's about AI and analytics in general, and then mapping your business problems to which of those methods would be appropriate. So if you get too hung up just on AI, I think you end up shortchanging yourself and trying to force a certain solution to fix a problem when it may not be the right solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of already addressed my next question, but perhaps you have sort of more thoughts on this, which is around what are the most common misconceptions that you hear when you are talking to executives around AI challenges?
Well, I think I'll throw out one that I think is actually distinct from the prior point I made, which is just like anything else, AI is not going to be magic either. And so, if you have a fundamental business issue, sure, AI might help identify that issue. It might help provide predictions or help you build processes to help mitigate that issue, but it doesn't in and of itself solve it all. And almost guaranteed, a lot of these issues are going to involve some process change, some people's business approach, changing how they do their job day to day, et cetera. And so you can't just say, oh, we're going to have AI solve that, because that's really not true. You can have AI be part of the project or initiative that solves that problem, but there's going to be a lot more to it. And so I do see executives at times thinking that AI is going to be this magic bullet. And how many times have we relived this over the past decade or two? Data mining was going to be the bullet. Machine learning is going to be the bullet. Now it's AI. Well, it's part of the solution, but it's not magic. And you really are going to have a lot of hard work around it, no matter how well you execute the technical aspects of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And leads really nicely into the next question that I noted down here, which was sort of what are the key considerations to ensure a successful AI model deployment? What are your thoughts on that?
I think what's great here is you can get back to the basics, because I believe the same overall process that you should have been using for a while works equally well, which is you got to be thinking about that deployment from the very beginning as you're laying out the project, because I think we've all seen scenarios where there was this amazing, awesome technical approach that was done, and then when it came time to implement, it was realized, we actually can't implement that in that way, given our systems or given our bandwidth constraints, whatever the case may be. So I think the first and foremost step is, as you're laying out analytic process from the start, and as you're thinking about how you're going to apply AI to a given situation, you need to be simultaneously and from the get-go thinking about, and when it comes time to deploy, how exactly are we going to do this, both technically and, again, back to what I said earlier, business process-wise. How will this change the flow of what happens in a call center, or what happens at in a financial team as this AI process spits out its results? So by thinking of all of that, I think that's the main thing, and that pre-planning will really help you then make sure that you've matched it up. Doesn't mean it'll be easy, but at least you'll know that you've got a plan that should work.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that there are some debates around maintaining deployed AI models post-implementation, and how you make sure that they are maintained properly. At the event, I know that you're speaking around sort of data science and analytics team structure. Does that come into this at all? And do you mind giving us a little brief sneak preview of what you'll be discussing at the event?
Yeah, one thing is, there's definitely been some evolution of roles within analytics and data science teams, and one thing that's been popping up a lot lately to help address what we're talking about here is the concept of these ops roles. Some people call it ML ops, machine learning ops, AI ops. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an operations or implementation scaling role for processes that have been built that need to be deployed at scale. And what we're seeing is that organizations are starting to have some people tasked with that role that have an understanding of how the models are working and have some of the technical chops to help it scale, versus traditionally you either had someone who came from a pure data science background kind of hacking the technical side of it, or you might have had a pure IT person who didn't have any understanding of the data science pieces trying to make the technical side work, but really didn't understand what the processing was doing. So I think these new roles where there's people that are specialized in some of these challenging areas, it starts to make a lot of sense, particularly now that we're building more and more processes, AI and other, that are going and really being deployed deeply into business processes and systems on the back end. It's not anymore where I'm running a process and handing you scores. These things are embedded, and so to do that, it's got to be done properly, or you're just going to be costing yourself, both time and money, neither of which might be affordable depending on the scale of the process you're deploying. You really need to optimize it.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill, and thank you for being a part of this mini series. For everyone watching, if you're interested in what Bill has to say, you can come and apply to attend the event and see Bill deliver his keynote on our new sort of revolutionary digital platform. These are the types of conversations that we will be having at the event, and if you want to get together with your peers and really drill down into how we can overcome these, then the event is the one for you. Now, I know, Bill, just before we end quickly, I know that you do a lot of thought leadership in the space. Is there anything that you'd like to highlight that you're working on right now that might be beneficial for our viewers?
Yeah, to anybody who was at the event last year in Florida, last December, I spoke about ethics. And I think I mentioned at the time I was working on a project with O'Reilly Media for a new book on ethics, and it came out just a couple weeks ago, the end of August. It's called 97 Things About Ethics Everyone in Data Science Should Know. And it is a series of blog-length essays from literally dozens and dozens of people out in the analytics data science community. We've got students, professors, big business, small business. I mean, there's a lot of representation across the spectrum, talking about all different aspects of how ethics and data science and AI intersect. So I think if you're interested in that topic, and if you like the general focus of my talk last year, if you happen to be there, I think this book would be a good one for you to pick up.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill, and thank you for joining us for this 3-part mini series.
Right.
I cannot wait to see your keynote at the event.
All right, great. I'll see you there.